Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Council meeting here on April 26th. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, and I believe we have Sylvester Scott to provide our invocation today. Good evening. And then after that, if you'll remain standing, and we can lead you in the flag salute.
O thou kind Lord, thou hast created all humanity from the same stock. Thou hast decreed that all shall belong to the same household. In thy holy presence they are all thy servants, and all mankind are sheltered beneath thy tabernacle. All have gathered together at thy table of bounty. All are illumined through the light of thy providence. O God, thou art kind to all, thou hast provided for all, dost shelter all, conferrest life upon all. Thou hast endowed each and all with talents and faculties, and all are submerged in the ocean of thy mercy. O thou kind Lord, unite all, let the religions agree, and make the nations one, so that they may see each other as one family, and the whole earth as one home. May they all live together in perfect harmony. O God, raise aloft the banner of the oneness of mankind. O God, establish the most great peace. Cement thou, O God, the hearts together. O thou kind Father, God, gladden our hearts through the fragrance of thy love. Brighten our eyes through the light of thy guidance. Delight our ears with the melody of thy word. And shelter us all in the stronghold of thy providence. Thou art the mighty and powerful. Thou art the forgiving. And thou art the one who overlooketh the shortcomings of all mankind.
Thank you. Place your hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Can we do the roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Alexander.
I'm here.
Councilmember Edwards.
Good evening.
Mayor Ron.
Here.
Councilmember Schwank.
Here.
Councilmember Stewart.
Here.
All right, so we have a number of presentations and a lot of excited folks here this evening. We'll go ahead and start first with the proclamation for Arbor Day, and I'm going to ask Stacy Fox to join us at the podium here. We celebrated Arbor Day earlier, but thought it was appropriate to provide a proclamation as well. Stacy, just real quick, tell everybody who you are for us.
Hello, my name's Stacy Fox. I'm the Park Maintenance Superintendent for Public Works Department.
Perfect. So the proclamation reads, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees. This holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and world. Trees can reduce erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide valuable habitat for wildlife. Trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper wood and wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. The trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. Trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and a symbol of renewal. I, therefore, Mayor Matt Ron, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Temecula, hereby proclaim April 29, 2022 to be Arbor Day and I urge all citizens to celebrate this and support efforts to protect our trees, woodlands, and urban forests, and plant trees to gladden their hearts and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Thank you. No applause, it's Arbor Day, come on. Arbor Day. All right. Gotta charge up the audience. You have anything you want to add? I think we're at Tree City, USA now, right?
We are, and this was, we just conducted a tree planting this past Saturday. I wanted to give a quick recognition to Temecula Valley Helping Hands and community members who showed up to support our Arbor Day tree planting event this past Saturday. With the help of our volunteers, city contractors, Nieva Landscape, Mariposa Tree Management, and Dudek, along with city staff, we planted 270 trees at 5 parks. These trees, they're part of a project we are working on, our Urban Forest Management Plan, which is a Prop 68 grant-funded project that the city was awarded to develop an urban forest management plan. With this proclamation and the city's commitment to preserving a healthy urban forest allows the city to be recognized as a Tree City, USA. Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you.
Thanks. Stacy, I'm really glad that you highlighted the hard work that the community did on Saturday. They came alongside the city and planted, what was it again, 270?
270 trees.
270 trees, and we're not done, so we're just
We're not
getting
done.
started. Yeah. So thank you, Stacy.
All right. Second item on the agenda this evening is presentation for Temecula Valley High School girls soccer team D1 state champions. Yeah, I'd like to ask Mr. Stewart and Mayor Pro Tem Schwank to go down and read off all the names and present the certificates to everyone who is here this evening. It is. There's a lot of you in the audience tonight.
So they're in alphabetical order, so we should be pretty good. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get this started. What we're going to do is we're going to call up all the students first, the players rather, and then the coaches. And then we'll go ahead and read one of the proclamations and take some photos. And we want to acknowledge everyone individually as they come up. So I'll be calling Temecula Valley High School girls soccer team 2022 CIF Division I champs. Our first student athlete is Alexis Salgado. Alyssa Rubacava. Annika Jost. Ariana Lewis. Cameron Vello. So this is Cameron here. Cameron, did I get your last name correct? Velo, okay, Cameron Velo. All right, Carly Radke. Cassidy Drago. Kaylee Deppner. Ella Gessel. Ellie Ludwig. Emma Mangan. Jenna Chaput. Jordan Mitchell. Juliet Thrapp. Kate Jacobson. KJ Blair. Lorena Jimenez. Nadia Dogan. Natalie Mitchell. Peyton Bundy. Roxy Rayberg. Sarah Asuma. Sophia Nzunza. Trinity Blair. And our last student athlete is Zoe Willis. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and call up the Temecula Valley High School girls soccer coaches and staff. You want to open that up? We'll go ahead and start with head coach Jennifer Gwynn. Assistant coach Brittany Alfaro. Program assistant Laura Witz. Program assistant and announcer Charlie Schreck. Announcer Mary Schreck. Trainer Miranda Rivas. Trainer Hudson Bassery. Statistician Ava Cook. Statistician Kinsley Wilkins. The athletic director Anthony Califano. And Principal Alan Williams. All right, so
We do have one that didn't get called.
Lila Devereaux. Hey, Lila. So just really quickly, I wanted to go ahead and thank everyone for coming here. I've heard a lot of great stories about this team and about the program in general. I'm going to go ahead and read this certificate of achievement really quick, just for everyone. So the City of Temecula congratulates the Temecula Valley High School girls soccer team, coaches, and supporting staff whose outstanding efforts guided the team to earn the 2022 CIF California State Division I Championship. Yeah. The Temecula Valley High School girls soccer team concluded their season with a strong record of 24-1-1. The team achieved its second regional title in 5 seasons and only allowed a total of 11 goals against them. The LA 84 Foundation All-CIF Southern Selection named 4 players to the 2021-2022 All-CIF team. Also, both the Coach of the Year and the Player of the Year were selected among the Temecula Valley High School girls soccer program. That's wonderful. We would like to thank the coaches of the Temecula Valley High School girls soccer team for their leadership and dedication to these young athletes and acknowledge their contributions to the lives of the city of Temecula. And with that, it's signed by Mayor Ron, and on behalf of Mayor Ron and the City Council, thank you. If you'd certainly like to say a few words, we'd love to hear your story, and then we'll filter around for some photographs afterwards.
Our story?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Our story. Okay, that's exciting. First of all, this team is an exceptional team, and they really played together all year as a family. And I think early on we saw that we had the opportunity to go after these big dreams, and we went for it. And I think none of us looked back. And so every game, it was just, no matter what, we were going to reach that goal. And it's one of the things that's so exciting is recently 2 of the most reputable ranking systems in soccer. We were ranked number 1 in the nation and number 2 in the nation. And so I'm really proud of these athletes that are standing up here right now. It's a huge accomplishment. And we actually have something for you for the city. Thank you so much to the City of Temecula for having us out tonight and honoring these amazing student athletes. They are students first, and they balance a lot to be amazing academic students as well. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you. If we want to go ahead and everyone sort of filter there in front of the dais, we can take some photographs.
You're such a ham, Stu. But you look lovely holding it. Says- So I will repeat, just one more step toward total world domination.
All right. Well, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, there is an organization that will be dealing with that trophy here in a moment. So might as well get it back. It's a beautiful trophy. So I wanted to acknowledge another great accomplishment in our city. The Great Oak High School Cyber Team 2022 California Mayor's Cyber Cup. As a long day event, or a day-long event that focuses on scenario-based competition followed by award ceremony to honor and recognize all participants. The Mayor's Cyber Cup experience provides a month of hands-on practice before the actual competition and opportunity for students to showcase their experience on their resumes, equipping them to better address the needs of employers and looking for future staff, of course, as well. There were 256 competitors, 149 were high school students, 27 of them were high school teams, and 11 high schools across the Inland Empire were part of an entire competition. Bottom line here is the Great Oak High School Cyber Team scored 1,655 out of 2,160 points on the Cyber Skyline cybersecurity virtual game platform. Did I get that right? It's just... this was the highest score out of all of the teams representing the Inland Empire.
Woo!
We wanted to wish them continued success. They clearly have promising careers ahead of them and keeping us all safe from cybersecurity threats, and wanted to invite them all down to receive their proclamation as well.
Thank you, Mayor Ron and City Council members. My name is Donna Woods, and I'm here representing Marina Valley Unified School District and the Inland Empire Desert Regional Consortium with Suzanne Mata. We host the Mayor's Cup, and the Mayor's Cup goes throughout California, so Northern and Southern California. The Inland Empire hosts the Southern California event. And again, this is middle school, high school, and colleges. The reason this event was created, the students go on to the Governor's Cup and the national competitions such as Cyber Patriot. But the main reason is if you look at cyberseek.org, and for any of our families here, currently in our nation we have a shortage. In other words, 597,000 jobs are currently open. In California, 63,000. Which of 28,000 are right here in Southern California, almost 2,000 here in the Inland Empire. The goal for the California State Commission, Cybersecurity, and our Homeland Department of Defense is to fulfill 55,000 jobs here in California over the next 5 to 7 years. You can see the need with all that's going on in your own personal smart devices, your home devices, as well as in our schools and our cities, how important this field is. It is absolutely zero unemployment. We are very proud of these students for pursuing, not only seeking out to pursue the competitions, but the academics in their schools as well. Due to the need, many of these students go on to receive absolute full ride scholarships to prominent leading universities in our nation that are seeking to secure all our nation's best interest. Again, we can't outsource this. So we are very proud of the students that represented this beautiful city of Temecula Valley, and Great Oak High School. We'd like to welcome them up now. And while they come up, I'll introduce Suzanne Mata.
Thank you so much. My name is Suzanne Mata, and I'm an industry sector manager for the ICT and digital media sector. So I am a regional representative of the California Community Colleges, and I manage a regional project that's, the funding is what supported this regional competition. It's designed to build awareness, provide opportunities for students to learn more about the industry sector and jobs that are available, and then opportunities for those hands-on skills to be practiced so that they can be prepared for the workforce. So I'm really proud of the team, and not only as a regional representative, but I actually am a City of Temecula resident. So I'm very proud of the team. So thank you for having me be here tonight.
That's wonderful. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hand these out to the individual students. So Alex Chin. Thank you very much. Anthony Tafoya. Ola Bola? So you're going to have to, no, it's not okay. Please. Wait, hold on one second. So Ola Bola is the team mascot. Okay, all right, okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying that. Jonathan Tafoya? Luyan Zhu. Thank you. And Vian Lee. That's wonderful. Thank you all so much. And one of the very cool things that I appreciate about this position that we're in is nights like this between the girls' soccer and your team, just highlighting the youth and really the impact you're going to have on our community and our world beyond these walls and beyond our city. So on behalf of the city, thank you and great work. And 2 trophies, multiple trophies. Congratulations.
The trophies that the students are holding stays at Great Oak High School, and this trophy, girls, although we'd love to give it to you for your amazing accomplishments, so this is staying at Temecula City Hall for 1 year. It is a perpetual trophy, so it stays here. It will have your name on it, and should the team prevail again, it will stay another year, so they'll have to come back to compete again next year, but we'd like their president and team leader to present it to Mayor Ron.
Is just your size.
Right, very exciting. Thank you all for being here this evening. All right, moving on, we will get started with our board and commission reports. Let's see, Community Services Commission, Kathy, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Ron, Mayor Pro Tem, and our city council members. I am Kathy Sizemore. I am chair of the Community Services Commission. We are a commission made up of 5. We have Commissioners Hawks, Kristevsky, Levine, Vice Chair Audi, and myself. The purpose of our commission is to review and make recommendations on topics related to the parks and recreation element of the general plan and to provide parks and rec services and programs for the community. Our last meeting was April 11th, 2022, and a recap of our meeting. First of all, we always get department reports from our community services, and Community Services does so much. We get reports from everything from aquatics to library services, art and student culture, special events, and they always give us just very thorough reports, and our commissioners always have excellent questions that they ask, and Community Services is always right on top of getting us answers to our questions immediately, usually the very next day. So thank you very much, Director Russo, to you and your team. At our last meeting in April, we selected a committee member to represent our commission for the utility box art project, where we'll be selecting the proposed artwork that will go on those utility boxes. And I was very excited to be chosen to represent our commission. I'm excited to see this project come to fruition. Tracy Frick shared it with me a year ago, and it's just going to add so much character to Old Town. It's going to be great to see these artwork pieces scattered throughout our Old Town district. We also received a very thorough update from Director Russo on the history of our commission, going back to the forming of it and the mission of what our commission is to do. And we also had a update and review from our director on the Art in Public Places proclamation. We kind of discussed how the funds got there, how the funds are distributed, and what we've used it for in the past, and where we're planning to use those funds in the future. That was a follow-up discussion from our March 14th meeting, and we had a really good discussion, and it was really great to see that the priorities that our commission appointed for ourselves for the year 2022 were really in line with what the mission of Community Services is. We will meet again on Monday, May 9th. That is it.
All right. All right, Planning Commission, Mr. Watts, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, City Council members, staff, and members of the public. I'm Gary Watts, the chairman of the Planning Commission, and the other four pictures is my esteemed colleagues on the commission itself. For those that don't know, and I'm sad to see so many students left, but it'd be something to take back to school, the Planning Commission serves as a designated statutory planning agency for the city of Temecula. It reviews and makes recommendations on topics related to subdivisions, specific plans, zone changes, plot plans, and conducts legally required public hearings. Our last meeting was April 20th, last week. And next slide, please. We approved a development plan and a tract map for a 237-unit single-family residential community on 27.5 acres, actually right next to, close to, just south of the Audi dealership and Mercedes dealership there on the northwest side of town. Interesting project in that all of the units on this project will be managed as one. So there'll be all condominium type residential houses, but managed as an apartment type situation. So that's not very common in the city, and we're going to be watching that one to see how it goes. It's not a widely used method to do it, but they did this time. So Commission voted at 3-0, and we meet again on May the 4th. So if you want to come and attend our meeting, we welcome Star Wars costumes for that day. So anyhow, that's my report, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, and Ms. Wilson, Ready Commission, good evening.
Or Miss Steed. She's
Oh,
out of
I'm
town.
sorry.
That's quite all right.
That's right. I was looking at you and I was like, that's not right. I don't have my glasses on, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. My name is Jackie Steed. I am Vice Chair of the Ready Commission. And the Ready Commission is the Race, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Commission that reviews and makes recommendations on topics of diversity, inclusion, which is within city events, services, programs, and policies, and enhanced community relations. So we had our meeting last Thursday, and we had attendance by the Riverside Transit Agency, and they do phenomenal work. Executive Director Kristen Warsinski and Jennifer Nguyen provided an overview of transit programs and services for all segments of our community. They provide a large array of services, programs, and so we were thoroughly impressed. Just to name a couple, the Dial-A-Ride, of course. They have a Go Pass, U Pass program building younger ridership. and many, many others. And as you know, our Mayor Pro Tem, Schwenk, is their chairman of the board, and they're just a phenomenal organization. We were very, very impressed with them. Our commissioner, Ivy Harris, had her last meeting at our last meeting. She has moved on and she has relocated to Los Angeles County to work with the Public Defender's Office in Compton on community-based programs. So we will truly miss her. She has been such an asset to our commission. And our next meeting will be on May 12th.
All right, thank you. Public Safety Report, Chief Crater. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and members of the community. I'd like to give you the stats for March 2022, calls for service in the city of Temecula by the fire department. We ran a total of 835 calls. 11 of those were fires, 627 were medical related, and 75 traffic collisions. The one thing that stands out on this report is the ring and alarm stats. And this is the first time in 2 years since I've been here that we've had 0. So that, getting out to our business owners, showing them how to service their alarms, fix their alarms, and really just embracing that with our prevention department has cleaned a lot of that up for us. Next slide, please. As far as our prevention, which I mentioned earlier, they're busy. Plan reviews, 467 in the city for the month of March. Construction inspections, 274. And our annual mandatory state inspections, 294. We're looking to be on track to complete those all early and on time, ahead of anybody else in the county at this point. Also, for the public coming into City Hall and meeting us at the counter, 32 in the month of March. So you can see that brings the yearly total up to 92, so that is picking up as well, and we're getting to meet people in person again, so that is great. That concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
All right, any questions? None. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, moving on to public comments on non-agenda items. Do we have any public comments this evening?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we do have several public comments. I have 11 public comments in person, and then I have 50 plus via email. So our rules, as stated on the agenda, do indicate we will receive public comments for up to 30 minutes. All public comments will be read in the order received, either personally handed to us earlier or by the timing of the email. So we will go ahead and call the in-person folks first. So Brody Powell, and all speakers have 3 minutes, to be followed by Natalie Murphy.
Well, you've got a cheering section. All right, welcome.
Apparently, right? All right, greetings, council. My name is Brody Powell. I originally came here to speak for some extra credit in a government class. But as I was researching for something to talk about, I stumbled across an article. As I read this article, I realized there is a real issue here in Temecula. So from here on out, this is no longer for extra credit, this is for change. The article I read wrote about a set of drag shows that is going to be taking place here in Temecula. Well, I am here to say, good for them. They should be able to bring this new form of entertainment to our amazingly diverse city. And hear me out. If you aren't into drag or support this community at all, simply don't go to the drag shows. And we are all human, and as a human, I can confidently say that even though drag isn't really for everyone, or even for me, I can still wake up in the morning, go to school, go to work, come home, and sleep and not be bothered by it at all. And I strongly believe you all here can do the same thing. There is absolutely no need to oppress others in what they are doing if it is going to have absolutely zero impact on how you choose to go about your own life. In the Press Enterprise local news article on the drag shows, it states that Councilmember Alexander, who has been openly against these shows, believes that these drag shows are going to lead to an increase in crime and vandalism in Temecula. Okay, sure, you might be right. If that includes the crime and vandalism that will occur from the homophobic protesters that you have previously helped organize against these harmless forms of entertainment. It also says how Councilor Member Alexander has been speaking to Christian churches, informing them of what is going on in another attempt to put an end to drag in Temecula. This, in fact, violates separation of church and state laws, so you may not use religion at all in a way to shut this down. These drag queens and kings and their supporters will not put up with this, and neither will I. I'm not an advocate for much. I'm no social justice warrior. And although I do support the LGBTQ+ community, that's not where my passion is. My passion is mental health. Mental health for Black people, white people, gay people, straight people, and all human beings. Mental health does not only matter to the ones who fit your own socially acceptable version of a citizen. Not to mention, the LGBTQ suicide rates are constantly rising, and they make up a concerning portions of suicides and suicide attempts in the United States every single year. Not because they were just feeling upset from regular everyday struggles, but because of the fact that their regular everyday struggles consist of oppression, abuse, and people then trying to shut them down and push them away for years upon years. So please, leave these queens and kings to their endeavors. They are doing you no harm. Thank you for your time, Council.
The next speaker is Natalie Murphy, to be followed by Rachel Bolin.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Natalie Murphy, and my daughter Kira Murphy is with me tonight. She's 8 years old, and she is on the Temecula, Murrieta, Elsinore Swim Club, so the TMAC Swim Club. We have been a part of this club for the past year, and my daughter has decided that swimming is her passion. It's her love. She swims 3 days a week. But our current issue is that we really don't have enough space for all of the swimmers in Temecula, Murrieta, and Elsinore that are wanting to participate in club swim. So the lanes have become overcrowded, and it's becoming difficult for them to get the level of practice that they want. Kira, as well as our other TMAC members here. These swimmers all want to be high school swimmers, collegiate athletes, and possible Olympians. And we need to be able to have the space that we need for them to get the best practices in. So what we're asking for is a full 50-meter size pool where our swimmers and athletes can participate at the level that they need and deserve for their sport. Some of Kira's friends have left to go to other cities, other clubs that do have a 50-meter pool. And we need a 50-meter pool in the Temecula area. This city deserves to have our athletes to have the ability to participate and practice the sport they love. So I'd greatly appreciate your consideration of a 50-meter pool in Temecula. Thank you.
The next speaker is Rachel Bolin, to be followed by Rob Courtney.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Bolin, and my daughter Brooke Bolin swims for TMAC. We've come to you today to ask that you consider putting in a 50-meter pool into the Quality of Life Master Plan. Currently, we have one pool that we use at the CRC, and unfortunately, we have outgrown that pool exponentially. In 2011, a Quality of Life Master Plan for Temecula included a study of what areas needed improvement. At the time, an additional pool was listed as there was only one pool for every 30,000 residents. In that study, it stated that the goal was to get to one pool for every 16,000 residents. That was in 2011. It's 2022, and there are 113,000 residents in Temecula. CRC is where we have our swim lessons in the summer, we have swim lessons year-round, we have our pre-club team, and we have our club team. Club swimming, if you didn't know, is a year-round sport. We swim 365 days a year unless there's lightning. We don't have a season. We swim every day. 5 days a week to 6 days a week we practice, and then on the weekends we move to other cities to swim in their pools for their competitions. Cities that have 50-meter pools are able to grow their teams and host meets that are a minimum of 2 days and a maximum of 7 days. That's nationals, junior Olympics, all of those fantastic meets. Unfortunately, we can't host those. We go to these other cities, we stay in the hotels, eat in the restaurants, and we shop. Not one night during a high season in the summer, we stay in these hotels year-round. So cities that have 50-meter pools get that business, year-round business in their hotels, in their restaurants, in their shops. Not in a downtime, year-round. Cities that have 50-meter pools also get to have new jobs. We'll need new coaches, more office staff, maintenance staff. Most importantly, cities that have 50-meter pools have the ability to allow their athletes to reach their potential. Athletes that can go to Junior Olympics, athletes that can go to nationals, collegiate, and even the golden apple of the Olympics. But cities without 50-meter pools can't do that. In fact, we lose our top swimmers because when an athlete gets to that certain level, they have no choice but to go and find a club team that has a 50-meter pool. So they end up either moving to a new city or driving for hours a day to get to practice. This, unfortunately, has been the case with TMAC. Our very best swimmers are leaving. Not to mention, we'd also get to have water polo, synchronized swimming, and a dive team. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Rob Courtney, to be followed by Jeannie Young.
Good evening, Council. I'm Rob Courtney. We're all wearing the same clothes, just so you. So I'm not going to repeat what my team members have stated. I'm going to speak from the heart. So I'm actually the Board of Directors President for Temecula Swim Club. My daughter's been at TMEC for 5 years, and we are both tasked with the same thing, and that is responsible growth of our community or our swim club. You guys are tasked with doing something for our community to grow to that next level, whether it's bringing in revenue from hotels, tourism, keeping our community safe, planning for the future. We do that every day at Temecula Swim Club as well. But the difference is we're planning for the future of our children. And our children are the most important asset that we have in a community. And we're trying to do the same thing you are, which is grow great athletes that are fantastic students, that are great stewards to our community. And that's what we do at TMEC. Over the last 5 years, our swim club has grown from 125 swimmers to over 325 swimmers. And we've done that in a pandemic by being responsible, being conscious about health and safety, and being responsible about how we care for our kids. I have a bunch of notes here that I wrote down as I was thinking about what I wanted to say today. I think somebody already said a lot of the facts, so I'm going to keep it simple. We need an aquatic center. We need an aquatic center so our kids can swim here where they live, where they go to school, where we work. Not going to Riverside, not going to San Diego. It's imperative that we look deeply into our pocketbooks and say, can we fund something that's going to keep our kids here swimming and practicing? They asked for a 50-meter pool. I'm a little bit bigger. I'm a sales guy. I want something more. I want an aquatic center. I want something that will have a 50-meter pool, have multiple 25-yard pools, allow us to bring competition that will show the community, the state, the country how great Temecula is. And we can do that with your help, your support. We need diving programs. We need water polo facilities. And selfishly, I need a place for my 12-year-old to continue to compete, learn, grow in her swimming future. So I ask of you to consider the aquatic center and get the funding. We have great coaches that can support you in how that needs to be created. And I know that Coach Carroll has come here a few times in the past to talk about the same need. Let us help you because we're all in it together. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jeannie Young, to be followed by Anna Minsberg.
Evening.
Good evening, Council, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Jeannie Young, and I am the Outreach Coordinator for Community Mission of Hope, our local food bank and housing resource center. First of all, I want to thank you so much for allowing us to launch our second annual Walk to End Hunger from the steps of City Hall. It was a fantastic event. We raised $4,500 for those in need in Temecula, and believe me, that goes a long way. So thank you for that opportunity. Secondly, I wanted to share about a new monthly event that's happening at Topspin in Temecula. It is called Poetry with Purpose, and it meets the fourth Sunday of every month, and it goes from 6 to 8 p.m. It's only $10, and all the proceeds go to a different local nonprofit each month. I love Temecula so much, I wrote a poem about Temecula. And Councilmember Schwank and Councilmember Stewart graciously read it for me last Sunday. It was a lot of fun. So I'm just inviting the public and our community to come out on May 22nd at Topspin from 6 to 8 p.m. to enjoy an evening of Poetry with Purpose. Bring a friend and bring a poem if you'd like. Thank you.
The next speaker is Anna Minsberg, to be followed by Lorraine Sanchez.
All right, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Anna Minsberg. I've been a resident of Temecula Valley for over 10 years. I'm actually a business owner in Temecula, one of the biggest private grossing businesses in Temecula. I'm an investor, but my greatest title is being a mom. I also hate public speaking, so excuse me if I stumble. I think the greatest thing I could do in this 3 minutes is I wanted to quote two of the greatest people, well, not the greatest people, but two people that I admire. I wanted to read a Bible verse and pray over the city. So I'm just going to bow my head and pray over our city. Dear God, thank you for allowing us to gather. Thank you for allowing us to be free in this city. God, I also pray that you would just come over this city, God, that you would lift any sort of evil spirit and darkness, God, over our city, whether it's the crisis that we're having with fentanyl, God, with our young kids, or any other thing, Lord, that's not of you, Lord. I pray blessing upon this city and for our children and their children, Lord. God, I thank you for everything that you've done, and I thank you for our leaders, God. I pray that you continue guiding them, God. Amen. I want to read a Bible verse, Psalm 139, 13 and 14. It says, "You formed me in my inner parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows this very well." The greatest responsibility I have is raising my children. They are grown children, but the one thing I want to teach them is that it's okay to say no. So we talk about inclusivity, and I think LA County is our greatest example of an inclusive city. And I think that Temecula is far from that, I would hope and pray. I've taught my kids that it's okay, and in my business, it's okay to say no. I think it's okay to be an individual and to not be okay with certain things. I understand that people want the freedom to say what they want, to do what they want, but I also have the freedom to stand against it. And I want to be able to teach my children that. There are things that do not make me uncomfortable. I grew up in a ghetto inner city. I'm pretty used to everything. Temecula is very mild. Everybody mows their lawn. I mean, this is the most vanilla city I've ever lived in. And I chose to raise my kids here for that reason. But I've also taught them to say, I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with saying them, they. I'm not okay with this. And it's okay. It's okay to, just like everybody wants us to accept, it's okay for me to be an individual and say, I'm not comfortable with this. And I think...
Sorry, your time's up.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
The next speaker is Lorraine Sanchez, to be followed by Lori Trask.
Good evening.
Good evening, Council. I, as well as my other parents, are with TMEC. I am a Wildemar resident, and I have been with the club for 5 months. I have twin daughters who have been homeschooled for the last 18 months by choice, but with that comes a lot of, I guess you could almost say, I wouldn't call it mental health issues, but they definitely don't have the camaraderie and the socialization that as parents that we would want. So one of the things that I think is important for something like an aquatic center is to get more children out. Swimming as a former, as a former high school and college coach, I coach soccer. It's really easy to get a piece of grass and have people kick a ball. It's not so easy with a pool. Getting these kids out there, exercising, we all know the benefits of that, but more importantly, since my other parents have covered that, what it can do for the rest of the community, heart health, it cuts down on diabetes, it allows for the muscles not to hurt so bad, but just wanted to point out that it's really important to get the entire community active. Everyone's been locked up, and I just wanted to pass that on that I've been very fortunate to take part in this, and my kids are loving it, and I think it can only benefit the community to invest in their people and all ages. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Lori Trask, to be followed by Cindy Bergen.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, council members. Thank you for your service to our community. And commission people and all of you managers. I know that you're not elected, you're chosen, but I appreciate your service here to the city. I came to voice my support of Councilwoman Jessica Alexander. I wanted just to let you each know how appreciative I am of the stand that she takes here in our city and of the light that she shines into the dark places that have begun to creep in. I've been a resident of Temecula since, I think, 1985, so I've seen a lot of change here. I grew up in a conservative city. It's not conservative any longer. There's a lot of good here. I appreciate hearing the things that I've heard from the residents. The pool sounds like a great idea. I think that could contribute to our community well, and I appreciate so much about this city. But I also am starting to understand and to see there's some things that have crept in. We've spent the last 2.5 years seeing, having our eyes open to a lot of darkness in our nation and throughout the world. And very few are standing up and speaking out against it. So many are complicit in it by our silence. And so the fact that Jessica drew attention to the drag situation that was happening in our city, I appreciate. I appreciate getting the opportunity to pray as a citizen, to gather and pray outside on the City Hall steps, not at the location where this drag happened, but to worship and pray to our God and Savior, the creator of the universe, who's made each and every one of us in this room. We have been made in God's image. That is truth. It's not debatable. It's truth. We can argue it. We can say we don't agree, but it doesn't change what's true. And God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him male and female. He created them. There's 2 genders. That's truth. We can argue about it, and we can throw out the concept of science, but that doesn't change what God created. What happened chapter or 2 later, in our history, is that Satan came to Adam and Eve, and he questioned God's word. And he questioned truth by saying, has God really said? And so what I want to challenge each of us to, and each of you, is to read the Bible, to dig into the Bible on your own, to not listen to what people say, but to actually read it, because this is the word of God. It is truth. The truth is, and this is Jesus speaking to a political leader and a religious leader, was that men love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil, and so they won't come to the light. And I want to challenge you to read John chapter 3. I know my time's up, and you're going to quickly ask me to leave. I'm going to leave with this. Just because something's legal does not make something moral. So thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Cindy Bergen, to be followed by David Tosnick.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name's Cindy Bergen. I've lived here in Temecula since 1985. I'm a widow. I'm the mother of 4 children, 1 in heaven. I have 13 grandchildren. And I love Temecula, and I've lived here a long time, and I've seen many, many changes. And like was just shared, over the last couple years, my eyes have been opened just to see the darkness that has fallen over our land and our world, but things I'm seeing here in Temecula too. And I just want to voice my support for Jessica. And I appreciate her courage and standing. I know she takes a lot of flack from the community and from a lot of you. And I thank you, Jessica, for standing for truth. And what grieves my heart is I'm not seeing, I know there's others of you that claim to be Christ followers, but I don't see the courage. I don't understand why she is getting picked on all the time. And so I want to support her and I want to stand for her. And I want to say that as Christians, we're not trying to judge and we're not trying to condemn. We're trying to warn you. We care about your souls. And that is what we're trying to do. And I had a scripture today the Lord gave me to share with you. It's 1 Corinthians 6, verses 9 through 11. And I want to just kind of say 11 before I read the other 2, because I know a lot will be offended by what I'm going to read here. But it said, "And such were some of you, that you were washed, but you've been sanctified, but you were justified in the name of the Lord Jesus and by the Spirit of our God." And so as a believer, we're sinners just like everyone else, and we're not trying to judge and condemn, but we're trying to warn you. And going back to the 2 verses before that, it says, Do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor homosexuals, nor sodomites, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revelers, nor extortioners will inherit the kingdom of God. And that's a warning to all of us. And so when we take a stand, again, we're not trying to judge you, we're not trying to be critical, but we want to warn you, we care for your souls. And I thank you for letting me speak. I pray for all of you and praying God's blessing on all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is David Tosnick, to be followed by Slim Killens.
Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. David Toshak, resident since 2007. So what I'm about to talk today with TMEC is something that my 16-year-old son won't be able to reap the benefits of, but my 9-year-old Oliver may, and that's an aquatic center. I'm kind of going to repeat some of the things you've heard already today, only because maybe hearing it 3 times might sink in a little bit. So, and I'll do it in a series of questions. So first of all, do we know how many Olympians, swimmers came from California, right, over the years? Mark Spitz is the earliest I can go back. Do you know how many TMEC swimmers that are young adults that are on the national team? Do we know? There's been a few. Do you know what they have in common? Neither have nor no longer swim for the TMEC club. Do you know that our kids wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to drive to Paris to swim at a 50-meter pool? Do you know how many TMEC parents drive their kids from pool to pool based on availability? Do you know how many Temecula kids drive over an hour to get to practice every day because we don't have the facilities here? Do you know that TMEC swimmers aren't allowed to swim in some of the school pools, even though they belong to the school team and make that team better? Do you know that some of the swimmers are receiving letters of interest from schools like Stanford and Yale, that a swim scholarship may be the only possibility that they can afford such an education? Do you know that a city within about 40 miles of here, not in our county, but had just built an aquatic center, the most recent I could think of. It just opened last year in June. That project was funded in 2018. 3 years later, they had their grand opening, just this last June in 2021. At a cost of about $26 million, it seems like a hefty price, but reasonable compared to some of the projects that are in the state. High-speed rail for one of them, right? So, there's that town has a similar population, right? We're looking at 175,000 in the town that I'm referring to. Temecula has a population of 113. You've heard that recently. The town that I'm referring to has 3 public pools now. We know that there's also a cost associated with the maintenance of such a facility. That's something you guys have to look into also. But these are all things for you to consider and dwell on. And I would like to say that, and kind of quoting Councilmember Edwards' comment just a little while ago, she had mentioned world domination. Right? So the city staff builds a project the council wants built and approved in their budgets. City programs fund projects that you want funded. You have staff here that basically follows your direction that you give them, and we understand that you have a lot of priorities. What I'm asking for tonight is that let's give Temecula swimmers the opportunity to be part of that world domination. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see Slim coming up next, and then our final speaker is Jillian Larson.
Good evening.
Evening.
Jesus went up on the mountain, and when he was seated, his disciples came to him. He began to teach them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the gentle, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, who actively seek right standing with God, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, with integrity and godly character, for they will see God. Blessed are the makers of peace, for they will be called the sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for doing that which is morally right, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people persecute you and falsely slay all kinds of evil against you because of me. Be glad and exceedingly joyful, for your reward in heaven is great. For in this same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Let your light shine before men, that they may see your good and moral excellency and glorify your Father who's in heaven. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money, possessions, fame, status, or whatever is valuable more than God. In everything, treat others the same way you want to be treated, for this is the law and the prophets. Because wide is the gate and easy is the path that leads to destruction and eternal loss, and there are many who enter through it. But narrow and difficult is the path that leads to everlasting life, and there are few who find it. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Jesus will declare to them publicly, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who act wickedly, rejecting my commandments. Everyone who hears the words of Jesus and acts on them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rains fell, the floods came, and the winds blew against that house, yet it did not fall, because it was founded on the rock. Everyone who hears the words of Jesus and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain fell, the floods came, and the winds blew against that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. When Jesus had finished his words, the crowds were astonished at his teaching. He taught as one who had authority, and not as the scribes and leaders who relied on others' men's authorities. If you have ears to hear, hear what the Spirit is saying to you tonight. Amen.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we're just about at that 30 minutes, and our last speaker coincidentally happens to be Jillian Larson. So come on up, Jillian.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, City staff, and Temecula. So I am so excited and I'm so thankful. We, Reality Rally, are coming back again. It's about 7 days away. and it's going to be amazing. But I am so grateful and so thankful that we as a community will be able to have so much fun. And I'll talk particularly about, obviously, the whole weekend's going to be great, but the Saturday event up here, that is an opportunity for people to get together. It is for nonprofits to talk about their nonprofit. It is corporations to be involved and to have teamwork, playing, get this game together. It is some city councils from the area that can vie against each other to see what they can do. It's people learning how to do something different. It is people getting over something. It's not just about winning because they want to win. They want to win because they do something different. They maybe come over a challenge and get to know how well they could do something. It's strategy. It's figuring out which is the best way to do it. It is so much more than just winning. I've heard people saying, yeah, but we want to win. Well, you know what? You're winners because you're joining. You're winners because you are helping raise money for Michelle's Place. You're winners because you're gathering your groups, your charities, your corporations, and there are 7 divisions. There's the Battle of the Badge. That is us honoring anybody that has a badge. It is Heart of Health. It is thanking the healthcare system for managing over the past 2 years. It is all of these divisions that we are welcoming to the steps of City Hall in about 7 days, I think it is, 8 days maybe, who's counting? So I want to thank you for your support that you've been part of every year to make all of this happen. And I know everybody's a winner. It's families together, it's companies together, it's team building together, it's nonprofits together, it's everybody together. And this is what we're all about. Let's help Michelle's Place grow and grow bigger. Let's help Temecula have fun. And I'm so thankful that we can get back to it. And I still see I've got a green line, so I'm going to keep going. It's not easy to stop me talking. So I do want to thank everybody. And there are all those divisions. Everybody plays this game against each other. But you can win the division. Well, you know which division you want to win. But people that are there for nonprofits, they can win the charity chalice. The companies can win the corporate cup. The Battle of the Badge can win the trophy. I mean, it's a big trophy. All of these divisions can play against each other, and I know a lot of you are going to be playing, and thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it, and I bow to all of you for being part of Reality Rally 2022. We are back. We're back to reality, and thank you so much for coming back with us. And welcome to Temecula, and welcome to the world, and we'll be live streaming, so the world is going to hear Temecula for hours. And so thank you very much. I appreciate it. And now I'm going to go shower because I've been in the sun all day with several of you others. So thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
So, Mr. Mayor, that concludes our in-person, and that took us just a tad bit past the 30 minutes. For the record, I did receive over 50 emails that were on non-agendized items, so we will scan and upload all of those to the agenda packet that will be available online and included as a part of the record for this meeting.
Thank you. All right, moving on to city council reports. Who would like to get started there? Mr. Stewart.
All right. So for those of you who aren't paying attention, this weekend is the Rod Run. So on Friday night at 5 p.m. starts the cruise night, which is, to me, the New Year's Eve of Temecula. I mean, I get super excited about the cruise night because I have a 69 El Camino with a 383 stroker that sounds really good. So I think do we have a slide? Yeah, we do have a slide. So come one, come all. It's going to be a gorgeous night and weekend. So come out, support the team, and enjoy some classic cars. That's my 51 Willys Jeepster, because my El Camino was in the shop right about then. So
I know what happened.
All right. Well, look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah.
All right. Who'd like to go next?
Me.
Ms. Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, looks like the swimmers have left, but I will say that Mayor Ron and I serve on the Quality of Life Master Plan committee with community members providing input, and we have a survey online. You want to take the survey. And we had, part of our discussion last week when we met was that of an aquatic center. And so it was recommended that it would be added to the Quality of Life Master Plan. I know one of the speakers talked about it, and so it will be added to the Quality of Life Master Plan.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Zach.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And Jillian always gets me in the most optimistic mood. So I don't have a slide for this, but Saturday we joined Stacy in the community. We planted some trees. I rode my bike over and then ended up attending the flower show over at Ronald Reagan Sports Park. But before I sort of dipped down into the park, I sat atop the hill and just listened. And kids playing baseball and families and just that happy noise of that park just made me happy for our city in a sort of hokey way. And I know former Councilmember Nagar would always say he loved listening to that. And sort of, I kind of reminisced about that as I was dropping down into the park. So I just wanted to share that. Jillian brings the best out of all of us. This morning I woke up to the sound of what I thought was my neighbor cutting down a tree. It was like 3-something in the morning, and I'm like, what in the world is my neighbor doing? So I threw open the sash and went outside, and a tree had fallen across the street in our neighborhood. Like a significantly large oak tree, or pine tree rather, had fallen across, and Public Works and some first responders were out there, making sure that traffic would clear. I just wanted to acknowledge Public Works and that team. It looked like a fun job. I kind of wanted to jump in the skip loader and help them. They didn't take my offer. But again, Public Works out at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. I just wanted to acknowledge that. So thanks to the team. And then I do have a slide and then a short video if you'll entertain me. So if we can throw up the slide. Councilmember Stewart and I did attend the Poetry with Purpose reading on Sunday. It was at Top Spin here in Old Town. It was a great event. I had never done a poetry reading here in Temecula. And one of the things that I noticed is when we were sitting there, there was a family that ended up, the daughter ended up singing. She's a singer-songwriter. They were visiting from Boston. So you have a family of 5 in Temecula, Old Town Temecula, on a Sunday evening, and sort of happened into Top Spin. But listening to some of the students read their poems, it was very, it was emotional at times, it was uplifting at times. Stu and I read a very, very happy poem about the city of Temecula. So at this point, I would like to ask Jonathan to put the video up.
So I wrote.
Well, I will say, if it doesn't start
Do
going,
you remember it?
we are not going to recite the poem. I'm sorry, technical difficulties. Again, it was a good evening. It was a good evening for the community to be a part of something like that. So if you have an opportunity to attend one of these, it's not only good for you, it's good for your soul, but it's also good for the community, as it does raise funds for Community Mission of Hope and other charities in the Valley.
And I'll add, because that one family that just happened to random in, they were from like Boston, but the little girl, she was a 5th grader who actually wrote songs and sang songs. And so she sang one of her songs just a cappella for us, which was kind of really interesting to listen to this little 5th grader, and the emotion that she brought to that, the lyrics was quite, I was impressed. So, and I videotaped her just in case she becomes a superstar one day, and I can say I discovered her. So anyways.
Can we try the video one more time before we move on? Well, Stu, I think we're going to have to just perform it next meeting. All right.
It
Thanks,
was
everybody.
so good. It broke the machine.
All right, Ms. Alexander.
All right, I think I have a few slides, but if we can first start out with the CERT, Community Emergency Response Team one, that would be great. Okay, so this is something that I got to do, I believe it was last year already. It's been so long. And I am just urging the community to get out and be able to be a part of the community, be able to help out, be the hands and feet here, and actually learn something. And you will actually end up coming out with a CERT backpack with emergency supplies and equipment if you do pass the class. CERT is about readiness, people helping people, rescuer safety, and doing the greatest good for the greatest number. CERT is a positive and realistic approach to emergency and disaster situations where civilians will be initially on their own and their actions can make a difference. Through training, civilians can manage utilities and put out small fires, treat the 3 killers by opening doors, controlling bleeding, and treating the shock. Provide basic medical aid, search and rescue victims safely, and organize themselves and spontaneous volunteers to be effective. So the next training that's going to be coming on, I just wanted to let the community know about it because there is a need for these people. It's going to be on May 13th through the 15th. They even provide, I believe, a lunch too and a dinner. So if you guys are interested, I definitely urge you just to find out more information about it. It's a lot of fun. I think I reached out to the council last time. I think, how many of you guys have done the CERT training? All right, okay, so you saw they're going to do the next one. So anyways, it's a lot of fun, so please check it out. The next one we have, if I could have the next slide, please. All right. So on April 29th, I was able to do a ride along through with the RSO in Old Town. And if I was to tell you, it's been a long time since I've been up till 2:30 in the morning. But I ended up going out there because I wanted to see and get a unique opportunity to experience Old Town from a different perspective. I was able to walk around with the police officers all evening. We went into all of the bars. Actually, normally I guess they go through twice, but it was kind of a busy evening that night. It was very interesting to see it as a city council member. I'm looking forward to kind of going this summer to getting more of an experience as the nightlife of our entertainment district is building. So that's another thing I'm going to be urging our staff and our city council members as well to please go along on those ride-alongs at night. There is a lot of things that are going to be coming out to be able to have the conversations with staff. So we're excited to be able to continue a safe environment for our citizens and also for our police officers as well. The one thing I'm going to reach out, though, to the businesses, and I'm asking the bars currently right now, is to please watch the overpouring. There was a lot of individuals who were completely over-intoxicated that I had seen as a city council member, and it does concern me. So I'm just asking that they are a little bit more attentive as to who's in their establishments, and also that they can also please follow the rules and regulations according to their CUP here in the city. That means if you are to close at 12 o'clock at night, we would gladly appreciate it if you did that, just to be able to keep the safety of our residents and our law enforcement safe and the rest of our city. So that was a great experience, and again, I urge anybody else out here to do so as well. My last thing on the public comments, and I'm going to keep it very simple and short, I just want to say there was over 50 comments, both positive and negative, towards the situation. And so that being said, my job as a city council member is when if I see something, to say something. And that's what I'm here to do. I think somebody in the crowd had talked about telling people what's going on, bring truth. And that's all I'm doing. It's everybody's constitutional right to be able to own an establishment as to what they see fit, but at the same time, it's my First Amendment right to speak out against what I believe in my heart not to be something that might be safe. And so for that being said, I just want to be able to clarify to the fact that we have the Constitution for a reason. We live here in America to have the wonderful godly freedoms that we have, but at the same time, we need to look at all of the constitutional rights that we all have as well. So thank you.
All right. And I think your video is working now.
That's what they tell me.
All right. Let's go ahead and see if we can get that to play.
So I wrote a fun duet poem about our beautiful city of Temecula and how blessed are we to live here. Do you guys agree? I mean, I've been other places and there's no place like Temecula, I feel. So that inspired me to write this poem. But I thought it would be fun to have individuals who are Temecula read the poem. So I contacted them, and they said yes. So I want to introduce to you Temecula City Council member Stu Stewart and Temecula Mayor Pro Tem Zach Schwenk reading a poem called Temecula, Temecula.
Before we get started, I hope this is a safe space for us. I know it is, but the two poets that went before us, I feel like we should have started so it could only get better. We all did amazing, so we're going to try our best.
Temecula, Temecula, where art thou?
I'm off the 15. You headed this way right now?
Temecula, Temecula, so you're down in the valley?
Yep, and home of the amazing reality rally.
Temecula, Temecula, where should I park?
Right alongside my famous farmer's market.
Temecula, Temecula, where can I stay?
At my wine country hotel set up for sleep, work, and play.
Temecula, Temecula, I want to make my girl swoon.
We'll get her up in a hot air balloon.
Temecula, Temecula, where can we wear our finery?
When you come down from the clouds, I'll hook you up with my best wineries.
Temecula, Temecula, does the sun shine through the mist?
Not only that, my vineyards are sun-kissed.
Temecula, Temecula, where can we dance and then walk around?
Get on your boots for the stampede in my historic old town.
Temecula, Temecula, what if I'm hungry for ribs?
No problem. Texas Lils, but wear a bib.
Temecula, Temecula, any fun, any classic car fun?
Buckle up. This weekend is my annual Rod Run.
Temecula, Temecula, I need a haircut. What do I do?
Oh, I'll set you up with our premier barber, Stu.
And I didn't write that, by the way, so it's not self-promotion. Temecula, Temecula, is Ronald Reagan in your city?
You'll find him in my sports park, standing tall and looking pretty.
Temecula, Temecula, any gaming in Awanga?
No, don't do that. Just head on down the road. I have Pachanga.
Temecula, Temecula, how is your city council run?
By movers and shakers like me, I'll get your permit done.
Temecula, Temecula, is it safe here?
I ranked 16th safest city in the nation. There's nothing to fear.
Temecula, Temecula, what else is there to do?
I've got a duck pond, a pump track, poetry with purpose too.
Oh, there you go.
And for the win, I've got top spin.
Temecula, Temecula, what have I found here?
A fabulous and friendly playground with wine tasting and endless cheer.
Temecula, Temecula, you live glass full. I'm headed to meet you. I feel the pull.
Thank you.
Thank you for indulging us. And thank you for joining me, Stu.
Speechless, absolutely speechless.
So,
He's stunned.
I do have a few items as well myself. Can I get the first slide, please? We were able to open the event this weekend at the Temecula Valley Garden Club. It was a lot of fun. They had some great exhibits and a lot of good participants and winners. If you haven't had the chance to visit the Garden Club before, definitely make your way out there next year. And they do meet monthly as well at the CRC, and I think they're moving over to the library shortly after that. You can visit their website at TemeculaValleyGardenClub.com. Next, please. So, today, if you hadn't heard, we made the attempt to beat the world record for the largest toast. Yes, the Guinness Book of World Records was out with us today to see if we could beat the record, and we came close. The record is still held today by Coca-Cola, and I think that might be an okay thing because we did not want to start the Cola Wars because we all saw how that played out in the 80s. But we did break the record for the largest toast in the United States and the largest toast using wine, beating Napa, who previously held the record. So not a bad event overall, and part of the fun was just watching them coordinate the nearly 1,000 folks who basically made the shape of a wine glass in front of City Hall. And it was a great morning. Thank you all for joining us, and hopefully we can get this back here again and beat Coca-Cola at some point in the future. All right, I do have a quick video to play as well. This one I'll say was part of our public safety messaging, and it has to do with our special needs community. And in fact, the program that you'll be watching was created by a former Temecula police officer, Chris Decker, along with Craig Roberts. So if we could play that video, please.
I need this appointment for my son. It's really important. Yes? I know. Hi. Yes? Yes, I've been on hold for 45 minutes. Uh-huh. Yes, my son really needs this appointment. Yes? We're taking it. Austin, come help me. Austin? Where is he? Austin! Austin! Where is he? Austin! Austin! Where are you? Oh my gosh.
911, state your emergency.
Yes, my son is missing.
What's your son's name?
Yes, his name is Austin Decker. He's autistic and he's tall. He has blonde hair.
Is he registered in our SNR program?
Yes, he's registered in the program.
What color shirt and pants was he last seen wearing?
He has a gray shirt and black pants.
Do you know where he might have gone?
I don't know. I've looked everywhere.
Okay, we'll have a deputy come out.
To Temecula 61, stand by to copy a missing juvenile, priority 1.
To Temecula 61, send it.
The juvenile is Austin Decker, white male juvenile, 14 years, 5'7" with blonde hair break. He was last seen wearing a gray shirt with black pants. The juvenile is listed in the database under the Special Needs Reunification Program, and there are details on how to best approach the juvenile.
Copy.
Hello, is your name Austin? Hello, I'm Deputy Hawken. I see you have Penny with you. Are you guys okay? Is that Penny with you? Hey, I spoke with your parents. They're concerned about you. Is it okay if I take a seat?
Yes.
Hi, Austin. I'm going to take you back home. Would you like to ride in the sheriff's car?
Yes.
All right, we'll go ride in the sheriff's car, okay?
Okay. Mom! I'm so glad you're home. Thank you so much, sir.
You're very welcome.
Come here, Penny.
So I found Austin with Penny over to Leon Park.
Oh my goodness.
Hi, my name is Christian Decker, and I'm a lieutenant with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. The Special Needs Reunification Program is a partnership between the Riverside County Sheriff's Department and our special needs community. It helps us reunify special needs individuals in our community with their loved ones should they become missing. Our Sheriff Chad Bianco wanted us to create a program that would help our special needs community. And so a committee was formed of multiple disciplinaries within our department and community members. Once the committee was formed, we did a lot of research from other agencies that had similar programs and pulled out the best parts of each of those programs to develop our own that we feel meets our community's needs the best. I heard about this program and I had to be a part of it. My wife and I have 5 children, and our middle child, Austin, who's 14 years old now, is autistic. Being a part of this committee and having a child on the spectrum gives me perspective on what family members are going through. A couple years ago, Austin went missing. It was a very scary time for my family, as Austin had problems with communication, his situational awareness, and his distrust of others. There was a lot of uncertainty, panic-stricken. I mean, my job is to help people, and I couldn't even help my own family at the time, and they found him. However, those moments of time seemed like hours, waiting, not knowing, just feeling helpless. I cannot stress how important it is to have the information about your loved one before we actually need it. It'll help the deputies in the field respond to locations where that individual might be, rather than coming to your house, getting all that information, and then going out and looking for the individual. That time is critical. And so this program is important to the community, especially the special needs community. They have a special vulnerability that the other communities might not have. There might be issues with communicating, listening. They may be at times aggravated. And so this program allows us to know the individual's needs and how to best assist them in their moment of crisis.
To enroll in the Special Needs Reunification Program, you have 2 options. You can contact any Riverside County Sheriff's Station to set up an appointment to register in person. A support staff member will help guide you through the process, take a photograph of your loved one, and submit your entry. Though an easier and more convenient option is to visit our website at riversidesheriff.org. Once at the site, hover over the Community tab and you will see the Special Needs Reunification Program. Click on the tab and fill out the form with the information you are comfortable sharing with the department. You will also be asked to upload a recent digital photograph of your loved one. After completing the form, you will be prompted to electronically sign, giving consent and verifying all information is correct. Hit submit and you will receive a confirmation email that your loved one is enrolled. It's that simple. Now, with the click of a button, we can see who we are looking for and the essential information to help us find them before the first deputy even arrives on call.
Fantastic program. Thank you for putting that together, and thank you for all the hard work you've done. I see you in the back there. Do you want to come up and say anything? This is, this is just part of the remarkable stuff that the Sheriff's Department does, along with, our great partnership within our community, and just such a powerful program, such an important piece of law enforcement and public safety. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me, and it's great to see all familiar faces. It's like walking into the living room at home, so good to see you all. As your law enforcement service provider, this is just another tool that we have to service the residents of Temecula and the outside areas. So something that we're very pleased to have, and we're here at your service. Anything that we can do for you, we have other programs in the pike, and this is just the beginning. So we average about 43 hits on that site a day with people that are interested in signing up. And it's not just, we did it on Autism Awareness Month, but anybody with a disability that has any issues, any eloping issues, Alzheimer's, or anything like that, anything that we can do to reunite family members with their loved ones, that's what we're here for. So won't take any more time. Great to see everyone, and have a great evening.
Quick question. You mentioned folks with Alzheimer's as well. So it's not just the children. I mean, you can have, folks who have Alzheimer's, seniors that might have dementia and other incapacities as well.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're here to serve everybody.
Great.
Anybody that has any issue that we can help. And the critical thing, we actually talk to a lot of the deputies, the front end users. A lot of times they'll go to calls and they'll drive right by where the person was located last time, or even drive by the individual. And just having that information at the time of the call by pre-registering through the volunteer service is something that will save lives. And so while parents, loved ones are at home, being frantic, having gone through that myself, just knowing that they already have the information is amazing. And my son is actually in the database too, so.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good seeing everyone.
And Mr. City Manager, if you wouldn't mind, can we make sure that's on our website too on how to enroll and maybe push the word out to our homeowner associations, our schools, and our senior center as well?
Yes, sir. We can also put it out on the city's social media too and push it through that way too.
Thank you. All right, and in a ham-handed segue from that, we wanted to also recognize part of our alumni series with past city council members. And so one of the most remarkable champions we've ever had in this city for our special needs community, former mayor and city council member Mike Nagar. And if we could play that video, please. Well, hello, I'm Matt Ron, Temecula's mayor, and bringing back to you the alumni series on Temecula City Council members. This time we're going to be talking with council member and former mayor Mike Nagar. Mike spent, I believe, 21 years on the city council and served on our commissions as well, and was really a foundational piece of our community for most of its history. Mike retired recently, and I've had the pleasure of continuing my personal relationship with Mike during that time. He's been a wonderful guy to work with on the city council. Him and I had a great time struggling through some of the tougher issues over the years. And one of the things I miss most about Mike is his ability to work and find consensus and reach a place where we can all feel like we've accomplished something good for our town. And that's a talent that takes a long time to foster and a long time to figure out, and Mike was definitely a master of that. I still love seeing the videos that he sends us all on the weekends, showing us his latest barbecuing experiment at home. I know he's enjoying time away from City Hall so he can be with his family and his son, and enjoy his time in high school and finishing up high school soon enough. Mike, we miss you. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing what's going on in your life. And thank you so much for taking some time and being part of our alumni network.
Hi there, I'm Mike Nagar, and I have proudly served the city of Temecula for 23 years. I'm a 5-term mayor and a 21-year council member. And I've been in Temecula for going on 30 years now. And I'll celebrate my 31st wedding anniversary in about 2 weeks. What I've been doing since retiring from the city council is really just trying to slow my life down quite a bit. Most of it is being focused on my 16-year-old son, Liam, and we find ourselves regularly either hiking or going to the beach, and that's one thing I just love about Temecula. We're about 45 minutes away from the beach at Oceanside. And really, all the trails around here are just fantastic, or we're about an hour away from Palomar Mountain. So I've been doing that. I built a greenhouse at my house, and I got a really robust garden going. I'm just really learning to dig in and love my wife more, and just really enjoying living in Temecula with a slower pace. Well, boy, one of the favorite things about Temecula, it's a hard thing to answer because there's so many things to do. Who doesn't like going to Old Town at any time of day, whether it's the farmer's market or going to a restaurant there or all the restaurants in town? I do love whenever there's activities at City Hall, but I ride my bike around town quite a bit. And one of the things that I love about Temecula is everywhere you go, it's clean and safe, and people are friendly. And those are the things I really love about Temecula. The things I miss most about the city council, again, there's a myriad of things, but I would say is being part of the team. I miss people. It was a fantastic feeling to be able to come up with an idea and know that you can implement it, know that you can go to the team and everybody would get on board and you'd tweak it and you'd massage it, and then it would end up with a result. In Temecula, we were always able to do that, and that's what I miss the most, is being part of the team and all the wonderful people I got to know over the years. You know, Temecula was not an accident. It didn't just appear. We weren't lucky, to put it another way. Some cities were lucky and Temecula, or were unlucky and Temecula was lucky. It didn't happen that way. Temecula was intentional. It was an ideology that was set foundationally from the very beginning and carried on, again, from the first city council, even before the first city council, and just caught the breeze behind her back and everybody implemented it. So I guess my words of wisdom is this: Temecula will stay this beautiful, safe, friendly place as long as everybody carries that ideology and works for it, doesn't just phone it in. And I mean that on every level, from the council level to city staff level, to all the employees, but also the citizens and all the sports leagues and all the nonprofits and all the businesses. We made Temecula what it is, and she'll continue to be one of the best places in the world to live if we continue to treat her like we have from the very beginning.
All right, thank you so much. That was a very nice video. Mike, we still love you, and we miss you every day you're not here. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the exciting consent calendar for this evening. Item number 1 is waive reading of standard ordinances and resolutions. Item number 2, approve action minutes of April 12, 2022. 3, approve list of demands. 4, appoint Councilmember Edwards as alternate to Animal Friends of the Valleys. 5, approve 3-year agreement with Animal Friends of the Valleys, Inc. for animal control services. 6, approve local road safety plan report. 7, approve first amendments to annual professional services agreements for architectural services for the Department of Public Works, Capital Improvement Program Division for fiscal years 2022 through 2024. Item number 8, approve amendments to annual professional services agreements for engineering, survey, and environmental services for Department of Public Works, Capital Improvement Program Division of fiscal years 2020 through 2024. Item number 9, approve First Amendment to the non-exclusive commodity agreement for the purchase of overhead street name signs with Main Street signs. Item number 10, approve First Amendment to the minor maintenance agreement with Mariposa Tree Management, Inc. for citywide tree trimming and maintenance services. Item number 11, approve resolution rescinding resolution number 2021-69, a resolution of necessity for acquisition by eminent domain of interests in billboards identified as sign number 33321 and 33322, located on portions of the real properties identified as assessors parcel numbers 910-060-002 and 004 in connection with the I-15 French Valley Parkway Improvements Phase 2 PW 16-01. And item number 12, approve resolution rescinding resolution number 2021-70, resolution of necessity for acquisition of eminent domain for certain real property interests on assessor parcel number 910-20077, 910-060-002, 910-060-003, 009, and 015 in connection with the I-15 French Valley Parkway Improvements Phase 2 PW 16-01.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, please cast your votes. All right, that passes 5-0, and I'm going to recess city council meeting to Mr. Stewart.
I'm going to call to order the Temecula Community Services District meeting. Madam City Secretary, please note we're all still here. First is there any public comments?
There are no.
All right, perfect. So we're on to the consent calendar. Item number 13, approve action minutes of April 12th, 2022. And number 14, approve 3-year agreement with Advantage Mailing LLC for printing services for guides to leisure activities.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote. All right, that passes 5-0, I'm assuming.
Councilmember Edwards?
I'm trying. Poke, 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 poke. No.
Okay, we will go ahead and mark it yay.
Yes.
My finger's dead, sorry.
It is
All right,
unanimous.
so that's 5-0. On to the Director of Community Services. Any comments?
Yes, just one item tonight, if we can pull up that slide. As you mentioned, we have our Rod Run this weekend. It is Southern California's premier car show, so we just wanted to welcome all car enthusiasts to join us at the annual Temecula Rod Run in Old Town this Friday and Saturday, April 29th and 30th. Festivities kick off with the Friday night cruise with Stu on Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. up and down Old Town Front Street. And the excitement continues the next day on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. with the Show and Shine. You can come out and see over 450 pristine classics and under construction projects. Don't forget to visit our vendors on Main Street to purchase your official Temecula Rod Run swag, enjoy hot eats, and cool treats. And that's all for me this evening.
Awesome, thank you. All right, do we have a general manager's report?
Nothing tonight, Mr. President.
All right, so anything from the board? All right, so I'm going to adjourn this meeting till the next one.
All right, and I am going to start what is this one? Temecula Housing Authority, Temecula Public Financing Authority meeting. We have one item under our business tonight. Do we have any comments on item number 15? All right, item number 15 is to approve the issuance of special tax refunding bonds for Temecula Public Financing Authority Community Facilities District number 03-03 for Wolf Creek. If we could get a staff report, good evening.
Thank you, Chair, board members, Ward Comer's Assistant Finance Director. The item before you is to consider the approval of issuing refunding bonds for the Wolf Creek Community Facilities District. The city's municipal advisor, Jim Fabian from Fieldman Rollap, is here tonight, and he'll be giving staff's presentation.
Thank you, Ward. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Jim Fabian of Fieldman Rollap and Associates, the city's municipal advisor, here tonight to present to you a refunding of the Wolf Creek CFD 03-03. We have an opportunity to save residents money with a reduction of their special tax payments based upon current market conditions. Tonight, we will walk through the background of the CFD, talk about the CFD in general terms, talk about the overview of the refinancing, walk through the refinancing documents, our estimated proposed results, recommendations, and the next steps. So just a background about the Wolf Creek CFD. This CFD was formed back in 2003. It is located in the southern portion of the city, right across from the Pechanga Casino. Right now, it includes 1,806 homes. There are 2 parcels of commercial property that are also within the CFD, and those are have not been developed yet, and then were recently purchased by the Pechanga Indian tribe. The bonds were issued back in 2003 originally to finance the public improvements required for the development of the Wolf Creek area. We did refinance those bonds back in 2012 when they were currently available to refinance, and we have now another opportunity to refinance the bonds in 2022 as we come up on the call date on 9/1/2022. The bonds are payable from the annual special tax paid by the residents who live within the CFD. The city's general fund is not obligated to pay any debt service, or the authority is not also. This is an overview of the CFD. You can see the location outline of the city's boundaries, and then a great overview of the CFD itself, showing the 1,806 homes. You can see the two commercial properties that I mentioned that are vacant, and then the two schools that are located within the CFD, and I think we also have a fire station there too. Based upon current market conditions, we have this opportunity to refinance the existing bonds that are outstanding against the CFD, and we are asking for authority to issue approximately $17 million of bonds. That provides staff with additional room if we need it. We don't think we will. We think we're going to be issuing approximately about $15 million worth of bonds to refinance the outstanding bonds. The repayment of the bonds, as I mentioned, are secured by the special taxes levied against the homeowners within the CFD. There's no additional bonds that will be issued for this CFD. It's a fully built-out, mature CFD, really coming to the last 12 years of its life. As I mentioned, this is not an obligation of the city, limited obligation of the financing authority. On February 8th, staff brought to you the authorization to move forward with the refinancing of the 2012 bonds. That was approved by the City Council. I'm happy to report that working with staff, we went to Standard & Poor's, one of the larger rating agencies, and we received an A+ underlying credit rating for the CFD with a stable outlook, which will help us provide further savings to the residents. Tonight in your packet, you have several financing documents that have been prepared by the city's bond counsel, Quentin Timmick. There's the fiscal agent agreement that really defines all the terms required for the issuance of the refinancing bonds. We have the escrow agreement that lays out the terms for the bonds to be defeased on 9/1/2022. The preliminary official statement is really the most important document because it provides potential bond investors with all required information to decide whether or not they will purchase the bonds for their own individual investment purposes. It provides all complete information related to the CFD, contains all the special tax tables required to be able to understand the nuances of the levy of the special taxes and the repayment of the bonds. We also have a continuing disclosure agreement. The city has an obligation annually to provide information to the bond market to update them on the status of the CFD. You already have that obligation. This is just a new continuing disclosure agreement for the 2022 bonds. Then there's a bond purchase agreement where you, the authority, approves the sale of the bonds to the underwriter, which is Stiefel Nicholas and Associates. They buy the bonds and then resell them to the bond investors. In terms of our estimated savings, it's been a challenging bond market in 2022. When we first started talking with staff, we were hoping that we would be able to achieve a little bit more savings than we presently can, but we're trying to move as quickly as we can to lock in the savings and provide the residents with the most savings possible. Right now, we're in that $1.2 million total savings, and that's a net present value. That factors in the cost to do the refinancing. That provides about $135 a year of savings to the homeowners. The savings will be starting to be realized by those residents in 2022-23. We're not extending the term of the bonds. That stays the same, 9/1/2034. The principal payments stay the same, September 1, and then interest is paid on September 1 and March 1 of 2023. These are the estimates of our sources and uses. We do have an existing debt service reserve fund that will be used to buy down the debt. We've levied special taxes in the current year, which is shown as the prior debt service fund. Those will also be used to buy down the debt. And then we have the money going into the escrow fund that will be used to redeem the bonds on 9/1/2022, and then the other cost. We are recommending that we buy bond insurance. Even though we have the A+ rating, the bond insurance will enable us to get a AA rating and provide further savings. And then we'll be also buying a debt service surety, which will fund 75% of the debt service requirement, and then we'll have 25% or roughly $412,000 in cash. And the debt service reserve fund is used to handle any delinquencies that might exist in the payment of special taxes. We have very low delinquencies within this particular CFD. The average tax bill for the Wolf Creek CFD is on an average about $935 per resident starting for the 22-23 after the refunding. That's the average. Some are higher, some are lower, depending upon the size of the home within the CFD. And again, these are estimates based upon current market conditions that will be locked in at the time that we sell the bonds. So tonight we're asking for your approval of the resolution to authorize the issuance of the refunding bonds. As I mentioned, we're looking to price the bonds sometime in mid-May, maybe May 11th or a little bit later, depending upon just getting the final remittance of the apportionment of the special taxes from the county, and then closing right around June 8th. And the June 8th date is important because this is a current refunding, which means it has to be within a 90-day window from that September 1st, 2022 payment date. So that's why we have almost a month closing between the pricing and the actual closing of the bonds on June 8th, and that will be within that 90-day window. With that, happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding the refinancing.
I have one.
All right, thank you. I see one question from Ms. Edwards.
Well, thank you. That was very thorough. Just one question, just to confirm. This, the refinance of the bonds and the bonds themselves don't represent any debt for the city of Temecula. They're just a financing tool to help with development.
That's correct. If you were to look at your annual financial report that is prepared by the finance department, this is a conduit debt. It's not a debt of the city of Temecula.
Just wanted to make sure.
You got it.
All right, any other questions? All right, seeing as how this is a public hearing, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers?
Actually, it's a business item.
What is?
However, we
I thought
do
this was
not
a
have any.
Oh, no, it's not, sorry.
We do not have any public comments regardless.
No comments.
No
All right.
comments
Any
regardless.
comments from council members? Well, I'll just make one. This is cool. You know, I mean, it's basically a mechanism the city goes through to save our friends and neighbors down in Wolf Creek about $135 a year, or you know, over $1,500 over the remaining lifetime of the fund. They don't have to do anything. They're just going to see a reduction in their in that line item on their property tax over the next 12 years. So, I mean, this is just a nice, smart move by the city of Temecula, and really appreciate the due diligence of both our consultants and the finance department in making this happen. So thank you so much for your efforts there, and thank you for the great report this evening. Let's see, do we need a motion, please?
Move approval.
A motion, a second. Please cast your votes. I dare you to vote no. All right, and that passes 5-0. All right, so any other, let's see, directors' reports? No. City manager report?
You know, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to echo what you just said. I wanted to thank Jim for being here, always looking out for us, but also special thanks to Jennifer and Ward. I'm sure the thank you cards will become pouring in on the heels of this action tonight. But no, really, it's their, sort of fiscal oversight to explore market conditions, working with our consultants to find ways, when appropriate, to save taxpayer money. And you guys did it, and we're executing it, and hopefully it will prove to play out the way we want it to. And when other opportunities come up in the future, we will do that. We know there's 2 other CFDs that the market conditions weren't quite right. But if we can save folks money, we'll be revisiting those at a later date. So.
Great. All right. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting and reconvene the meeting of the Temecula City Council. And this one is the public hearing. So item number 16 is to approve fiscal year 2022-2023 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan 2022 to 26 5-year consolidated plan and the 2022 Analysis of Impediments to Fair Housing and Citizen Participation Plan.
Mr. Mayor, for the record, at the public hearing, at the appropriate time, we do have one comment on this one.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, City Council. Good to see everyone this evening. Tonight we are presenting the Community Development Block Grant Program. I'm going to turn it over to Frank Perez, who's our consultant for this program, and he'll give you all the information and will be available to answer questions at the end.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Brandon. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Frank Perez, and then I am the CDBG program consultant, and I'm here to discuss with you all this evening the Citizen Participation Plan, the 2022-2026 Consolidated Plan, the 2022-2023 Annual Action Plan, and the 2022 Analysis of Impediments for Fair Housing Choice that revolves around the CDBG program. Tonight's agenda will include a brief CDBG background, accomplishments from 2017 through 2021, discussion on the Citizen Participation Plan, the Analysis of Impediments for Fair Housing, the 22-26 Consolidated Plan, the 22-23 Annual Action Plan, and staff recommendations. For context, let me provide a little bit of background about CDBG. The CDBG program is administered by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. It's a program that strives to create viable urban communities by promoting, preserving, and assisting the development of affordable housing, improving and expanding infrastructure and facilities, providing and improving access to public services. CDBG activities must meet one of 3 national objectives listed on the screen above. Activities in Temecula typically satisfy the first objective, which is benefiting low and moderate income individuals within your community. It should be noted that the city previously received its CDBG funding from Riverside County, and since 2012 became an entitlement city and now receives its funds directly from HUD. Our local CDBG program is guided by 4 main policy documents. First being the Citizen Participation Plan, second, Consolidated Plan, the third, its Annual Action Plan, and fourth, the Analysis of Impediments to Fair Housing. While the Consolidated Plan provides our overarching framework for the CDBG goals and activities, the Annual Action Plan defines specific projects on an annual basis on how the city intends to allocate its allotted federal funds. During the current Consolidated Plan cycle, which is a 5-year cycle at this point, and we are currently wrapping up the last year of the current one, the city has assisted thousands of community members with its CDBG funds. I'll just run through a few brief accomplishments so that way you all are aware of what has been accomplished. With CDBG funds, the city has funded 11 unique nonprofit service providers, served 25 family households through critical home repairs, 1,949 individuals educated on fair housing, 359 persons served with public services to those of low and moderate income, 347 persons served with public services with those with special needs, 611 persons served with those of whom were either homeless or at risk of being homeless, 146 services to seniors and veterans, and 11,335 residents impacted by improvements to neighborhood infrastructure and/or public facility improvements. And these figures, I just might need to add, don't even include the accomplishments that we're currently going to be closing out this program year. So kudos to those CIP projects and to the public service agencies that have assisted and administered their funds. As we move to our discussion to the Citizen Participation Plan, it is a document that encourages citizens to advise on HUD-required plans, analysis, and reports. It also ensures that citizens have timely access and opportunity to review and respond publicly produced documents. It also ensures reasonable language and physical accommodation to facilitate resident and community participation. And it also provides city staff with the direction on how to approve its amendments and noticing requirements. The next document I would like to discuss would be the analysis of impediments to fair housing, which the federal government requires the city to analyze potential barriers to fair housing. For example, ensuring that persons with disabilities have the same access to housing as the rest of the community. City is also required to address those potential barriers through establishing attainable goals. The city is then lastly required to report on those goals. For example, ensuring that fair housing program contact information and resources are made available on the city's website and that all residents have access to that information. In the development of the 22-26 analysis of impediments to fair housing choice, the city developed goals to be focused on over the next 5 years. They include program marketing, target non-housing activities in areas of poverty, promote fair housing education to tenants, promote fair housing education to landlords and realtors, maintain fair housing resources on the city's website, and also to maintain a housing community development resources list for the Temecula residents. During the last fair housing assessment of fair housing period, which started July 1st of 2017 and will conclude in June 30th of 2022, the city accomplished the following noteworthy milestones. 742 tenant landlords were provided fair housing services. 6 zoning laws were also amended, and 6 land use laws were also amended. The diagram presented here displays the overall process that was taken to complete the 22-26 consolidated plan process, starting with resident stakeholder surveys, a review of HUD and census data, hosting of community meetings and public hearings, the drafting of the actual document for 22-26 with the input of staff and consultant feedback, and also presenting to the City Council this evening the Finance Subcommittee recommendations for the 22-23 program year. Extensive public outreach that included 4 public meetings, an online survey, and meetings with public service providers resulted in 5 priority needs that were documented in the 22-26 consolidated plan. Those are improving neighborhood public facilities and infrastructure, preserve the existing housing stock, provide public services for low and moderate income, special needs, seniors, and veteran residents, provide public services for the homeless and for those at risk of homelessness, and promote development of affordable housing. The slide above you presents a little bit of a breakdown of the anticipated allocation, but I must start off with part of the consolidated plan is there is a first-year annual action plan that defines specific projects which address those priority needs that I just read off, and the national objectives administered by HUD. Before I talk about specific funding recommendations for 22-23, please keep in mind that Congress has not yet approved the appropriations for the 22-23 program year. For this reason, the action plan reflects an estimated allocation of funding. Any adjustments resulting from the approved federal budget will not require an additional public review, as our action plan has outlined that the city will adjust its individual subrecipients' funding proportionately as we have in years past. It should be noted that HUD also sets spending caps on public services at 15% of its annual allocation and administration costs of 20% cap, respectively. The remaining of those funds can go towards those capital improvement projects. On the next two slides, you'll see the recommendations for the funding, determined by the Finance Subcommittee for public service and capital improvement projects. With that, staff recommends that City Council adopt the Finance Subcommittee's recommendations for the 22-23 program year, along with the other CDBG documents we've discussed this evening, and its corresponding resolution. This concludes my presentation, and we are available for any questions you may have.
All right, thank you so much. Do I have any questions? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and take our public comments, please.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, as you open the public hearing, we have one public speaker, Jessica Munoz, please.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jessica Munoz, and I'm the Executive Director of Voices for Children. We've been really grateful to have been recipients of CDBG funding in the past, and happily, from our perspective, have been recommended for CDBG funding again for this coming year. So predictably, I'm here to request that the city approve that recommendation so that Voices for Children can continue to partner with the city in this way. For those of you who might be less familiar, Voices for Children is the Court-Appointed Special Advocate, or CASA program serving Riverside County. We train and support community members who are then appointed by judges to advocate for children in foster care. Children who have been removed from their homes due to abuse or neglect have cases in our juvenile courts that are assigned to our judges, and so it's those judges who make requests to have CASA volunteers trained and supported by Voices for Children, serving children whose cases that they're hearing. CASAs provide a very unique perspective to our courts because unlike our social workers who are trying very hard but also meeting the needs of many families at once, CASA volunteers are only assigned to one child or one sibling group at a time. So from the child's perspective, the benefit is a caring adult helping them navigate a very scary time. And from the point of view of our child welfare partners, the benefit is that that adult who then cultivates that relationship also has the platform to speak up when a child has unmet needs. And so the CDBG funds that are provided to Voices for Children from the city of Temecula provide CASAs for Temecula children. And like I said, we're the only nonprofit organization authorized to do this. So if a child in Temecula is going to have a CASA volunteer, that has to come from us. So again, we are so grateful for the funding that we've received in the past, and most importantly, I wanted to come tonight to express that gratitude, and also to let you know how much we would appreciate the opportunity to continue to partner with the city. I'd be remiss if in the last few moments if I didn't, in addition to thanking you and Temecula residents, also thank the staff and consultants who shepherd us through the application process every year and are there to provide technical guidance all throughout the grant period to make sure that we can fulfill our commitment to steward the city's funds as best as we possibly can. So thank you all so much for your past support, and we hope to work with you again next year.
Great, thank you. Thank you for sticking out the last couple hours too and joining us this evening. Really do appreciate it. Speaks highly of your organization. All right, any council comments or questions or anything? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and I believe we need a
Move
motion
approval.
on the item.
Second.
All right, please cast your votes. Okay, that passes 5-0. Thank you so much for your help with this, and look forward to seeing these funds hopefully approved soon. All right, moving on to our business items for this evening. We have item number 17, introduce ordinance amending section 10.28.010D of the Temecula Municipal Code regarding prima facie speed limits on certain streets. And I believe we have a presentation.
Yes, we do. Good evening, Mayor Ron, council members. I'd like to introduce Nick Minachilli. He is our senior traffic engineer, and he is going to be presenting this item to you.
Thank you, Pat.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. This presentation is on the 2022 Engineering and Traffic Survey Update. Before getting into the nitty-gritty of the data from the survey, I wanted to provide some background as to why we complete engineering and traffic surveys. The California Vehicle Code requires local authorities to review and reaffirm or adjust speed limits every 7 years on the basis of this study. So basically, it's California Vehicle Code law that we need to do this. Excuse me. The CVC allows the extension of engineering and traffic surveys up to 14 years. It used to be 10. I'll get into these new changes in 2022, but they allow us to go up to 14 years. If a registered engineer determines that no significant changes have occurred on a roadway, significant changes would be if we change striping, things like that, we have to reaffirm that speed limit within 7 years. Next slide. An engineering and traffic survey is made up of three main elements. One is the measurement of prevailing speed, accident history, and then roadway characteristics. We measure prevailing speed to determine the 85th percentile speed. The 85th percentile speed is the basis point for determining our speed limits. The 85th percentile speed is the speed at which, or below, 85% of vehicles travel in a free-flowing format. Traffic accidents are also reviewed to determine if there's a higher than average rate of collisions. And the other items we look in this study is roadway characteristics such as roadway alignment, visibility obstructions, land uses. All these things can affect what we post our roads at for speed limits. Next slide. For this engineering and traffic study update, we reviewed 54 segments on 24 roadways. As this slide shows, I won't go through all of them, but I'll just say these 28 segments right here, we reaffirmed the existing speed limits, so no changes will be occurring. The data prove that the speed limits here are still valid. Next slide. This slide shows the list of segments that the existing speed limits will be adjusted. All the ones listed here have a reduction in speed. This survey update, we have no increases in the speed limit on these 54 segments that we studied. Several roadways such as Red Hawk Parkway, Vail Ranch, Channel Street, and Paba Road, we think speeds decrease because of the changes we made on the roadways in terms of road diets and striping changes, adding buffered bike lanes to kind of narrow lanes down. So we think that was positive work we did in order to reduce those speed limits. 3 segments also did not have posted speed limits, and you can see them at the bottom. They are now going to be posted at those recommended values. All these speed limit recommendations were approved by the Traffic and Safety Committee at the hearing on December 7th in 2021. Now to what I mentioned earlier. At the beginning of this year, Assembly Bill 43 went into effect. It's a new one that kind of gives cities and local authorities a little bit easier time to lower speed limits. They don't really provide us how we can do that yet, but it's a positive direction for us. If we feel we get a speed survey that is, well, this is too high for a specific roadway, we can maybe justify lowering it with this new Assembly bill. Still, we're going to determine how that's going to be, but at least it's given us an option there. Key highlight is prima facie speed limits can come down to 15 miles an hour only in very specific roadways, maybe special business districts or residential areas, but previously 25 miles an hour was the lowest you could actually go, so now they're giving us a little bit more leeway. And as I mentioned before, we can now extend our surveys up to 14 years, assuming no roadway changes have occurred. And then back to lowering those speed limits. The speed limits are not enforceable, though, if we do change it based on not an engineering traffic survey. They're not enforceable until mid-2024. They're working out the details on how, it could be before that, but it's still vague on how they're trying to figure that out. But that's just one thing I wanted to bring up at this point. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time, and I can answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Stewart.
Yeah, so that's probably one of the biggest complaints I get is speed limits being reduced. And so, you know, when the 85th percentile is the target and you reduce the speed limit, it would just stand to reason when you did the survey again, it would automatically get reduced again because now people are traveling at a slower rate. And so wouldn't that cause a pressure to keep reducing the speed limit?
I wouldn't say that. It's based on free flow conditions, so it's based on what people are naturally driving. Yes, the posted speed limit is kind of I'll say this, people use that as a recommendation that they should drive.
Yes.
And so that's why we use the 85th percentile. We have, so say the posted speed limit is 35.
Yeah.
If the 85th percentile is 38 miles an hour, we can actually go up to 40 miles an hour, or we can come back down to 35. There's a whole, in the actual document, there's all these little rules that we can do to raise and lower speed limits, but we generally want to stay near that 85th percentile and not purposely lower it or raise it.
Okay, but if everybody's actually doing what they're supposed to be doing and going 40 in a 40, I know, but I'm saying, yeah, but if they do, then the 85th percentile now is 35 miles an hour.
No, it would still be 40. We would make an engineering decision, we can keep it at 40. You don't have to lower it.
You don't have to. That's
You
what
don't
I
have
was,
to.
I was under the assumption you had to lower the speed limit based on the 85th percentile.
Nope.
Okay.
You can go up, yep.
Got it.
Yeah, the disconnect, I think, was before we were on the council, one of the very early frustrating meetings I had was that historically state law said that, you know, at that 85th percentile, we didn't have a choice but to raise the speed limit, right? So the first time I went through this as a council member, there were a whole list of streets that all got bumped up, you know, 5, even 10 miles an hour. And a lot of residents saw that and they came in and complained. And we had all these folks saying, why are you raising the speed limit? These are dangerous speeds. And, you know, there were only 2 unfortunate responses. One was, well, you're the ones driving on those roads at those speeds. So, you know, and unfortunately the state law at that time requires us to match those speeds with how fast you're driving through your neighborhood. And so that was, you know, and that was very frustrating. I remember we having, you know, this whole conversation about, you know, a lack of local control, being able to say, no, we don't need to change the speed limit. It's fine at 40, or, you know, maybe, you know, just because our residents are driving 55 doesn't mean we have to say, you know, that is an unsafe speed limit. And so a lot of, I think, care goes into that now. And so I see the opposite happening now. I see that we're able to put and rectify now with the new laws some of the situations that we were complaining about several years ago when we went through this, you know, couple times ago. So that's just my perspective on it. And certainly, you know, residents are more than welcome to come in and make comment on those streets. If I don't think we have any tonight, but you know, in the past there have been, because they just thought, you know, what we were doing was rather ridiculous. I think Pat.
Yeah, and I wanted to add too that as the tables that Nick had showed, you know, many of the streets that were resurveyed did just stay the same. And really, I think the primary reason why several of them, if not most of them, was reduced was as a result of changes that we made with the intention of trying to reduce the speeds based on complaints that we've gotten from residents about the roads being, you know, people driving too fast on the roads. So. Yeah, as Councilmember Stewart was saying, you know, the idea that it's a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy if we lower the speed limit or change the speed limit isn't really necessarily true, because I think for the most part we kind of expect that they are going to stay the same if no other changes have been made. But when we do make changes, that's when we are looking for some type of a change in the speed limit.
Ms. Edwards.
So one of the other complaints that we have, and I find it very interesting, and I know it was a state requirement, was why do we do this in segments? And a perfect example was in front of Temecula Valley High School, when we're going the prima facie speed limit, no kids are outside walking, so, the lower speed doesn't apply. Why they say it's 40 here, and then all of a sudden you get to the top of the hill and it turns to 50? And all I can say is that that's what the speeds are, because the people who drive determine the speed limit. But can you talk about segments and the reasoning behind segments?
Sure. Certain segments, we do split them up because the characteristics may be different based on a segment-by-segment basis. It could be land use difference.
Yeah.
It could be a school. It could be residential. It could be commercial, all on one segment. So we try to split it up into what makes the most sense. Even some streets have a different, I think on Rancho Vista, we have 40 miles an hour in one direction and 45 on another.
Right.
That's just the way that it's, the 85th kind of determined it, and I am trying to find ways to make it the same, but that's kind of why we have segment analysis like that.
And it also takes into consideration the number of ingress, egress points, driveways.
Ingress,
and
egress,
things
yep.
Yeah.
Amount of vehicles too could be different based on segments too, so that matters as well.
Okay, so that gives me a little bit better explanation. Doesn't change anything, but it gives me a better explanation, so thanks.
No problem.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it. Before your presentation, I was looking through the data and making those connections to some of the streets that we've done, traffic calming on, and then I was happy to see that you certainly pointed that out. And maybe to the point earlier, I want to say it was La Serena, and this is long before I was on council, was going to be, it was 45. And then it was 85th percentile was like, oh, we're going to raise it to 50. And the residents are like, wait a second, hold on. But then you're able to redesign the street, right? You're able to use some traffic calming measures and get it down to 40, which seems reasonable for homes and schools and whatnot. I also appreciate the state giving a little bit more control. I think that's important because, we certainly know our neighborhoods best. And from a perspective of someone that bikes and walks a lot of places, the difference between 50 and 40 is pretty significant. If a car passes you in that speed, it's pretty significant. So I'd like to see a lot of what we're doing with traffic calming Vail Ranch. For one, I was over there on Saturday and rode that loop for the first time in quite a while, and it was pleasant, I will say. There was a lot of folks walking their dogs actually in the bike lane because it was just interesting to see. So I know we're headed in a safer direction with some of our traffic speeds, so I just genuinely appreciate that. So thank you.
Okay, any others? All right, well, seeing nothing else, I think we're just looking for a motion and a second, please. Thank you.
I need to read the ordinance. This will be an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Temecula, amending Section 10.28.010D of the Temecula Municipal Code regarding prima facie speed limits on certain streets.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, please cast your votes. And that passes 5-0. Thank you so much. All right, our last item for the evening is items for future city council agendas. One of those was something I had requested, and that is the cancer-related services in the city of Temecula. I will give my 3-minute plug here. Basically, we met a couple of weeks ago with Councilmember Stone from Murrieta, myself, and a number of practitioners in hospitals around the region to talk about our cancer resources. We had a cancer task force several years ago that was ultimately, I think, just sort of disbanded because it had fulfilled its original need.
Right.
But one of the things that was highlighted at the conversation was that simply a lot of the resources that we had have since disappeared. There's been some substantial investment by Temecula Valley Hospital and others in equipment that is not being used because we don't have local expertise. And then in some cases, we're still struggling with the support for our residents, not just from cancer services generally, but from practitioners, oncologists, treatment, some of the plastic surgeries and things that go on post, treatment and so forth. And, the whole point of the Cancer Task Force was to identify, what the needs were and sort of help fill those. And I think we're kind of in the same boat in some respects that we were before, only we're not just talking about it as the city of Temecula anymore, we're talking about it as sort of a regional thing. And so recognizing that, I thought maybe we could bring the Cancer Task Force back. However, I think it's also critical for us to continue to partner with our friends to the north there in Murrieta in order to accomplish that. So that's my plug, and I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Well, and speaking to people and also speaking to Darlene Wetton, I know that that's a fact, that services have moved, and who knows why, but, and I think COVID had a direct result on some of those services moving, but definitely the original question was, why do people feel like they need to go to Scripps or UCLA for cancer treatment? And so if we need to re-examine the reasons for that. With the intern program or the residency program that Temecula Valley Hospital has, I think it's an ideal time to try and get a handle on that so that the residents can maybe focus. So I think that's a great idea.
All right. Any other thoughts? Mr. Schwank.
So I wasn't a part of the original Cancer Task Force. So what other cities other than Murrieta do we include or were included in that?
We did have other cities. I think Menifee sent representatives like Elsinore. So it was really our sister cities that we usually partner with up and down the 15 and the 215. And primarily that was because we also assessed hospital facilities. And so, Murrieta has a great representation. We have Inland Valley, we have Rancho Springs, headed up the 215. Up that way, there's Kaiser and Loma Linda. So that's why we included everyone. And I think it's true. When we talked about a bed shortage in our hospitals, it was true regionally. So, and that's still the case.
Mr. Mayor, before the council votes up or down, or just for further direction, would you envision that the agenda item, if it's deemed to come back, would it be an agenda item to appoint like a two-person council member to the Cancer Task Force, or is it to stand up the task force with our friends to the north? And how do you see the council interacting with the task force? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think
guess
last time we had two members of the city council participating in the regional task force, and then we did, as Councilmember Edwards mentioned, we had probably 5 cities mentioned, or part of it at the table, but we also had every private hospital within those 5 cities, plus the American Cancer Society and other resources. So if that's the direction, I just need I need to make sure I'm understanding so I can put together the agenda item when we bring it back.
So yes, I'd like to see 2 council members serve on that task force. Yes, I'd like to see the outreach to Murrieta as well. I'm not sure that we need to cast a net quite as far as we did the last time, because the focus was different last time,
Yeah,
right?
it was.
And we're talking about, large-scale regional issues in, a large swath of Riverside County. I think, this time I'd like to narrow it down and kind of focus on, and I think about this in the context of folks who have to get services and support, including Lake Elsinore in this doesn't, really advantage residents who maybe have difficulty driving or with transportation issues or senior citizens, right? So, I'm not saying that I don't want them necessarily involved. I'm just saying that, I'd like to see the focus a little bit more narrow on this go around, and maybe focus on our local resources and the hospitals and practitioners.
I think that's totally valid. I mean, after all, it's a Temecula-based project, so sure.
So does that help?
And I did enjoy serving on that, by the way. We had excellent participation. We had residents come in who had had those experiences and didn't receive the services, couldn't find the services locally, and so it was an eye-opening experience.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would like to actually do just like we did with the performing arts a couple of weeks ago, to look into this aquatics center. Only because it was in the Quality of Life Master Plan previously, and to throw it on again, it just feels like we're being
Lip service.
Yeah, disingenuous. So I would like to see us look into that in a much deeper dive and look into, and I'm looking to see if there's maybe public-private opportunities
Yes.
out there. So where we get a private entity to come in along with the city and maybe help build the facility or whatever, and again, it would be a subcommittee that would have to do that. At that level, because it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be something that's going to have to be looked into. But I'd love to see that come back for further discussion amongst all of us.
And Mr. Mayor, I actually had that written down, and I also had written down the public-private portion of that too.
Great. Can we add that to the next agenda, please?
Don't we need to vote on yours though first, right?
Yeah, I mean.
So,
yeah.
I mean, we could vote on yours.
That'd be great if we could. I'm looking for a motion and a
Okay,
second.
move
on the,
approval for
task force.
reestablishing the cancer, you want to specify cancer task force or cancer task force?
So, Mr. Mayor, for clarification purposes, the item that will be coming back to you is consider the creation of a regional cancer task force and appoint City Council subcommittee at the request of Mayor Ron and as a business item. And then for items for future City Council agendas, we will go ahead and place Councilmember Stewart's request for an aquatic center.
Okay, thank you.
So move approval as stated.
Second.
All right, please cast your votes. All right, that passes 5-0. Thank you so much. Look forward to those future discussions. Anything else for future? No. All right, moving on to city manager report, please.
Happy to bring back future agenda items related to aquatics and 50-meter pools. I did want to remind everyone, we are building a new pool. It is under design build, albeit not a 50-meter pool, but it will be a new pool that will be added into the inventory of our current swimming pool system. And that will be available to the public this time next year, early summer. So that's all I have.
All right, city attorney.
No further report.
All right, well, let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting to our next regularly scheduled meeting on May 10th. Thank you all.